Welcome to the Basketball Fiends podcast, a proud member of the RSPN Podcast Network. I'm one of your hosts, Jesus Acevedo Jr., and with me is Mr. Alex Aguilera. And yes, we are back after a 1 week break. I know you missed us, faithful listeners. Alex, how's it going?
Yeah, man, it's going good. I mean, busy in the work life, but yeah, it's good to be back, man. 1 week is too long.
1 week is definitely too long. And the good news is we've returned with some updates, as this is also our first video podcast. So you great listeners, and I'm assuming our listeners are great, which that's what I choose to believe. I choose to believe that our listeners are great. But now they'll be able to see our handsome faces. And Alex, in anticipation of our first video podcast, I made sure to shower beforehand so I could be crisp and clean.
I came home from work and I was just kind of tired. I was just watching that Field of Dreams game, which was fun to watch. But yeah, I was knocked out. I wasn't trying to take a shower first thing I get home.
Next time, for next time, But yeah, it is our first video podcast, which is, we were talking about it before we hit record. Before we had that safety net of it was just audio, right? So people couldn't see us. Sometimes we will make faces. There'll be things happening behind us at times, and now people will see what's happening behind us. Like, people can see me moving my hand as I'm kind of realizing I do talk a lot with my hands at times.
Yeah, I mean, this background I got now is temporary. Like, I can't roll with this behind me back here. I gotta have something a little bit more presentable, but for the time being, it's gonna have to do.
It will have to do. Well, let me rephrase that again. You know what's going to be more presentable is, as we enter in this NBA offseason that we're already deep in, is a lot of new teams are going to be very presentable with new players. And that's how we're going to kick off this our first week back. It's the NBA offseason. And the first team that I wanted to talk about, Alex, was the Los Angeles Lakers. They definitely retooled their roster, to say the least. It's I guess I want to say it's not the point guard that I expected they were going to get, but they did go ahead and they pulled the trigger on Russell Westbrook. Look, I think the Lakers got better, but they also got older. Most of their star players are on the wrong side of 30, except for AD. So I believe it's 28, 29. And just to recap, faithful listeners, the Lakers traded for Russell Westbrook, signed Trevor Ariza, Dwight Howard, and Carmelo Anthony. On paper, the Lakers seem to have brought together an older Olympic team. That's the first thing that I thought. One of my great friends, former worker CJ Papas, he said that's essentially what they did. They just put together an older Olympic team, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
Like, honestly, I feel like the Lakers just kind of pulled a Yankees, where they just grab all these guys at one point in time in their careers that they were just studs. Not to say that they aren't. I mean, these are all still very good players, just not what they used to be per se. I mean, Melo isn't like Knicks Melo like he used to be, or when he was in Denver. Same deal with Dwight Howard. He isn't what he was like back in Orlando. So it's kind of weird to just see all these familiar faces, familiar names, just all in one place. But they're a little older now, so it's different.
They're more than just a little older. And I have a picture here because I took a screenshot of all the players' ages. Carmelo Anthony is 37 years old. LeBron James is 36 years old. Trevor Ariza, 36 years old. Marc Gasol, 36 years old. Dwight Howard is 35 years old, turning 36 on December 8th. Wayne Ellington is 33 years old. Kent Bazemore is 32 years old. Russell Westbrook is 32 years old. You could think of the positive and be like, hey, we have a lot of veterans on this squad.
Right.
But so that's one thing, a lot of veterans. And look, LeBron definitely took note of how social media reacted to the Lakers' older team. He tweeted out something for those who badmouthted the team's makeup. And here's the tweet, which I believe he has since deleted the tweet. He said, keep talking about my squad, our personnel ages, the way we play. We're past our time in this league, etc., etc., etc. Do me a favor, please. And I mean, please keep that same narrative energy when it begins. That's all I ask. Hashtag thank you.
I mean, that's fair. I don't really care about like the age of the Lakers. I mean, obviously you can't like work your way around it. It is an older squad. But I don't know, just my kind of thing is I think it's sort of like a win now mentality for the Lakers. Like I definitely don't see this as a long-term squad just by the age alone. I mean, in a couple years, these guys are probably gonna be, retired for the most part. So it's definitely like, hey, let's get a ring like right now. I mean, as far as long term, it's probably gonna be Anthony Davis, but even though he's already inching closer to 30, which is weird. I remember when he got drafted, and now he's already like inching closer to 30. Not that that's
Yeah.
old, but it's like you remember when this dude was like the young gun out of Kentucky, and now this dude's like an NBA veteran, which is weird. But yeah, I mean the Lakers are going all in on trying to win the championship right now.
And now, with that said, on the court, Russell Westbrook, which I believe is the main piece that they've signed this off or traded for this offseason, he's going to help them tremendously because that's one thing that the Lakers missed last season was a second creator. When LeBron James got hurt, all their offensive numbers just dropped because they didn't have that second creator. They thought Dennis Schroeder was going to be that player, and for some reason he didn't quite live up to it. I think he had a strong start to the season, if I'm not mistaken, but I think he kind of faded away. I know he also got COVID, so who knows? Maybe he was kind of having those long COVID effects. So, in that aspect, Russell Westbrook will help them, and I think you hit it on the head. They're in win now mode. Another team that you can say is in win now mode, although a little different, I'll say is getting the playoff mode. Is your hometown Chicago Bulls. The Bulls, they to me have without a doubt the most surprising offseason. Sure, you can make the argument that the Lakers trading for Russ was a surprise, and it was. But we knew the Lakers were going to go after somebody big. Like, we knew it. But the Bulls trading for DeMar Rosen, signing Lonzo Ball, and Alex Caruso, I definitely did not expect these kind of moves from the Chicago Bulls.
No, I mean the Lonzo Ball one was the only one I really expected. There was talks about that for months upon
Even there was
months.
even into the trade deadline, there was talks that Alonso may go to the Bulls.
Yeah, so that was the one where I was like, okay, like finally it happened. It's about time. But the DeRozan move and the Alex Caruso move just came out of nowhere. Caruso definitely just came out of left field. All of a sudden, it was just like, wait, like Caruso from the Lakers is with the Bulls now. Just all of a sudden, like just came out of nowhere. Just like no speculation. It was just like boom, he signed and that was it. And then you started hearing chatter about DeMar DeRozan, and I was like, man, it would be kind of cool, but like I doubt it. And then sure enough, like I remember I was on the train coming out of work the day that like the news broke. It wasn't official yet, but that the Bulls are getting them, and I was like, wow, man, like it's nice to see the Bulls being aggressive in free agency. That's something that we definitely really didn't see too much in that Garpax era. Really going after a guy like DeMar DeRozan, and him alongside Levine and Vucevic. I'm not saying that this is a Bulls team that is in title contention by any means, but it definitely throws him in the right direction of being a playoff squad. And just moving forward with the development of Levine, just putting guys around him, it's exciting to finally be excited about the Bulls.
It, for me, their playoff they have to make the playoffs with this
They
roster.
have to,
There's
yeah.
no
Yep.
reason, and I would even go further. They have to be a top six seed. Playing tournament. Yeah, I think with this roster, obviously you get the, but I think they have that potential. It's the second year under Billy Donovan. I think they have the potential to be one of the top six seeds where they don't have to be in that playing tournament. But the biggest question I have for you, Alex, regarding these moves by the Bulls is whose team is this? My first reaction is to say is Zach Levine's team because he's the elder statesman of the team. It's his team. He's been there longer. But DeRozan is the veteran. He has playoff wins. He's been battle tested. What say you?
No, I'm still gonna roll with Levine. I mean, obviously DeRozan is, like you said, is battle tested. Those playoff bouts with the Cavs when he was out in Toronto. This guy knows his way around the league. A nice little two-way guy. I love that he still maintains that mid-range game that people say is a lost start,
It's
but
making a comeback. I think it's making a comeback.
I've always loved the mid-range game. You can go into the analytics and all that, but I've always admired it. But at the end of the day, I think it's still Levine's team. This guy, I think, what Artur is, he's really leaning towards, hey, like this guy is the future. This guy is our franchise player, and we want to put guys around him, not only for him to succeed, but for the team to succeed. So I think just picking up guys like DeRozan, and Lonzo and hell. Who would have thought Caruso just kind of shows the Bulls that, hey, we're willing to buy into you, and it's only a matter of time before, hopefully they give him the extension he deserves, and you go from there.
And you go from there. And speaking of extensions, we're gonna go to another team that I thought kind of not surprising, but they made some good moves. Was the Miami Heat? They extended Jimmy Butler. He's there, I think, so he'll be like 39, 38. Uh, so now you got Jimmy Butler, of course, Bam Adebayo, but then you trade for Kyle Lowry, sign PJ Tucker, re-signed Duncan Robinson, and not to mention they still have Victor Oladipo coming back. Which, if he regains his top form from the Pacers before the injury, to me he's the X factor on the team, depending how he comes back. And you're looking at a Miami Heat team that can compete, that can has Eastern Conference Finals potential. So I think they made some good moves. Trading for Kyle Lowry, they shipped off Dragon to Toronto, and on paper, it's a team that's going to be like a grit and grind kind of team. We know where they're gonna hound you. Or those are some dogs over there on that squad.
Yeah, I think definitely the Miami Heat revamped themselves a little bit. Obviously, last season was pretty disappointing after, making a finals run in the bubble. But I think the key for Miami though is just to stay healthy. I
That's
think
it.
I definitely really when you say that, or when I say that, you definitely put your eyes at Victor Oladipo. But I think one of the things that really hurt Miami this past year was they weren't healthy that whole year, that whole season. They didn't have a 100% full squad, and that's where you kind of saw at times. They were in that 7 seed, and in the playing tournament. Uh, Bubble type of deal. So yeah, I mean, on paper, this Miami Heat team looks pretty damn good, but they really got to stay healthy.
Yeah, to me, that's where it's at. If they can stay healthy, this is a team that can compete against the Nets, against the Bucks to make it to the finals. And this is another one of the teams that has to be top 6 seed. With this talent, you have to be top 6 seed. You have a veteran coach that knows how to win, knows how to make the best use of the roster that he has. So it's definitely top 6 seed. And some more notable signings before we move on to the next topic. Chris Paul resigned with the Phoenix Suns, and essentially for the Suns says, "Hey, let's run it back. Let's run it back." I
Why
will
not?
say, why not, right? Now, I will say I predicted he was going to sign with the Lakers. Obviously, that did not happen. But I will say it will be a little tougher now for the Suns to go back to the finals. Not impossible, because once you make it to the finals, it's a lot of experience that you gain. Battle tested, like we say. So it's not impossible, but it will be tougher for them.
Yeah, and now that with that finals run that they made, a lot of teams saw what worked for Phoenix, excuse me, and how they were able to succeed. A lot of ball movement. That's where you saw in games 1 and 2, just everybody getting their hands on the ball on every possession and just throwing Milwaukee's defense out of whack. Eventually, the Bucks figured that out, and that's how they ended up winning the series. So now the rest of the league saw that and said, "Hey, now we kind of know how to beat this team." So I mean, look, the Phoenix Suns are running it back, which is great. I feel like you don't see that enough where teams just say, "Hey, screw it, let's just do it again, try it again, and see what happens." But
Sure.
now they've exposed themselves in a sense where now the whole league has seen where this team's strengths are, but also where their weaknesses are at.
Another team that made some moves was the Los Angeles Clippers. Kawhi Leonard re-signed actually today. We're recording on Thursday night. So he resigned earlier today, which I don't think there was much doubt. There was a little doubt, right, when he opted out, but I think everybody expected that he was going to resign, which he did. The one that I did not expect, even though I thought that they should have done, and they ended up doing it, was they re-signed Reggie Jackson, who was huge for them in the playoffs. And to me, they had to resign Reggie for the sole fact that the Clippers are not going to need another big scorer next to Paul George, because Kawhi Leonard's going to miss most of the season. I think they anticipate he may return April, maybe up to May. So right there, you're talking like 10, maybe regular season games going into the playoffs. So I think it was a smart signing by them. Now, here's the thing for Reggie Jackson. He needs to bring that playoff mentality to the regular season.
Yes, because we kind of saw sort of what happened with Dennis Schroeder, where He got a little high. Everyone was like, "Oh, when the Lakers signed him, I was like, hey, that's a great pickup." He turned down that $84 million contract and said, "Yo, I'm gonna bet on
Mm.
myself and get that $100+ million deal." And here you go, signing with the arch rival Celtics for like less than $6 million. I feel so bad, but it's like, damn, dude, like that
You know,
that sucks.
sometimes these things happen. Now, here's the thing: more often than not, when players bet on themselves, sometimes it does pay off, but in this
Yeah,
instance, it didn't. He expected that he was going to have a good season, a continuation from the previous season, and like I said, he had a strong start, but then he just kind of started slowing down. You could say again, COVID, or I don't know what the situation is, but now he can go out there and do it. You have 1 year in Boston, prove
right.
that you can do it again, and
Yeah,
trust me, because he has the skills. We've all seen those skills that he has.
yeah, no, we definitely know Dennis Schroeder's capable, and it's not to throw him under the bus, but when the writing's on the wall, you just see why he turned down all of that, and then you look at the season that he had, and it's just kind of like, back to the point that I'm trying to make with Reggie Jackson is you don't want to have that case where he's sort of a one-hit wonder in these playoffs with the Clippers making the Western Conference Finals, and all of a sudden he can't maintain that consistency going into the regular season. It's like, okay, that's fun and great to bring it to the playoffs. That's where you need it the most. But they didn't make the final, so it's like, hey, how can you maintain that and bring it into next season, and not just for the playoffs? Now you have to show up the whole season.
The whole season, because he was hit or miss in the season. Let's be honest. He
He
had
was
some good
streaky. He was a
games.
streaky
He was
guy. Yeah,
streaky. But in the playoffs, he just like, oh, switch, boom. I was like, man, this guy, where does this guy come from? So yeah,
the
definitely,
glass.
uh,
It's the glasses, man. It's the
it's the
glasses.
glasses. That's
You
what it
would know.
was.
You would know.
Well, see, I play with glasses. Mad respects to people
Oh,
that can play with glasses. I know you saw.
take that
Well,
back then.
no, I contacts. I have to wear contacts. Although I've never tried to do the Horace Grant, and some of these players play with those goggles. I've never done it. I just feel more comfortable playing with contacts. Uh, Now here's the thing. Sometimes I play without even contacts or glasses because I'm farsighted, so I can see far, but not by the
Oh,
by that
okay.
much. So sometimes I even play without it, and
Wow. Sometimes you
yeah,
live dangerously. You play ball dangerously.
I bet on myself. uh,
Look at you.
look at me. But you know who, as we want to our next topic, right now Summer League is in full swing, and we've gotten a chance to look at some of these draft picks that came highly touted. This class came highly touted, and look, so far in the games and highlights we've seen, this year's draft class has lived up to the expectations of being a highly touted draft class. I know here in Houston, the fan base has gone over the top and gone crazy over the early returns from Jalen Green, Alperen Sengun, and Josh Christopher. Green has shown the scoring ability that was his bread and butter in the G League, while Sengun has been the surprise of the picks. His IQ is off the charts. His passing ability reminds me of the reigning MVP from the Denver Nuggets, Nikola Jokic. And one of the games, he nutmegged his defender to get the ball to Green. His defender was like, "Where'd the ball go?" Like, so but his passing ability is definitely shined in this summer league. So I'll definitely say that the young core of the Rockets has definitely impressed. But look, you can go down the list. Kate Cunningham, she's been just as good as everyone expected. Jalen Suggs, I'm still surprised that he dropped to the Magic, and I think the Magic are so grateful. I'm sure you saw that one dunk. He came back and he just, oh yeah, yeah. Jalen sucks, and but we do have to temper our expectations too, Alex. It's kind of something that I'm trying to like. Something that I always keep in mind. Same thing with like preseason games. I don't put too much weight into it. That's just
Yeah.
me.
No, you can't. I mean, it's fun, exciting to see these guys. Like, as soon as summer league starts, these guys are looking athletic. They're looking fresh. They're looking to be like everything you expected them to be. But at the same time, they're going up against, sophomores, guys that just came off of their rookie years, guys that are looking to fight for just one roster spot. On the senior teams coming up from the G League. So you have to keep that in mind. And hey, once these guys come up to the big leagues where they're facing the LeBron Jameses of the world, they're facing the Steph Currys, the Kawhi Leonards, all these dudes that have sewn their names into like the greats of basketball. Once they go up against those guys, then we really see, hey, Are they ready for the show, or do they still need a little bit of time to work their way in? So, but I
Maybe
mean,
go
it's
spend
the
some time in the G League.
right, yeah, whatever the case may be, but at the same time too, it's like, man, just you get a little excited, you get these little goosebumps. You're like, "Ooh, man, look at Jalen Suggs over here just dunking the ball like it's nothing." Like over here with the Bulls, I know, like Io DeSumo, everyone is so hyped about him, a Chicago kid coming, coming back home, which is really cool. And actually, another guy I want to bring up too is Davion Mitchell, which I know we talked about
Yes,
as an odd pick from
yes,
Sacramento. And this guy, man, is
man.
all over people on the defensive end.
That's the one thing I noticed how that I wonder is could he translate his NCAA defense to the NBA? And so far in the summer leagues, I'm like, yep, he's there. He is
Yep.
right there on it. Like and I heard this great story about him that I think it was one of the first practices with the Sacramento Kings summer league team. He got there early to work out, not once, but twice before the actual practice of the team practice. And I mean, it's those little things that just tell you how much a player wants it, how much a player wants to be good. And look, I know both of us were like, Sacramento, what are you doing picking David Mitchell when you already have your point guard of the future? But look, we also said maybe we could be wrong because the Kings have hit on their last two picks, Fox, Halliburton, who you were really high off from the very beginning of the season. Maybe the Kings know what they're doing. Yeah, David Mitchell definitely impressed me in that game. So it's I think we're gonna look back 10 years from now. Whenever we're on episode 500 or whatever. I don't know. I'm not good at math, but we're gonna look back at this year's draft class and be like, this is one of the best draft class. It's gonna be up there among one of some of the best draft classes ever. That's how much talent is in this draft class.
I mean, well, I thought that about the 2014 class, and that one kind of fizzled out a little bit. Obviously, so I know Embiid was a part of that draft class, so he turned out okay.
He's all
Uh,
right. He's all right.
right, he's decent, he's solid. Was Giannis in 13 or
I think
14?
13. I think
13,
13.
right? Okay,
Yeah.
so even that draft class too. Well, I don't think there was too many
Oh,
expectations
that
about that
that
one.
draft class. If you look at, we should do a podcast just on that draft class to see how many people missed on Giannis. But if you look up and down,
Yeah.
I think that was when Anthony Bennett was number one. I don't even know where he's playing at now. Anthony Bennett from the Cavs.
Oh my God, Anthony Bennett. Pobrecito, man. Poor guy, man. That
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, just that whole situation that sucked. I mean, obviously
That
we not a lot of people thought he was ready, but at the same time too, just being thrown into that
yeah.
was unfair.
It definitely was unfair. Um, Something that was, I guess you could say, is unfair is that the U.S. men and women's always win Olympic gold in these Olympics, and that's our next topic. Now I will say, we hadn't yet talked about him. I don't think so. We had yet talked about the men's or the women's Olympic gold, and the reason for that, at least in my case, I would say, is because I expected them both to win gold. You know, we're the most we have the most talent. Yes, I know the men struggle and they had some early losses, but I took that as just being preseason. That's how I took those two losses. Because look, when you looked at that roster, just talent up and down. Now I will say, once Drew Holiday joined them, and once Chris Middleton joined them, and once Devin Booker joined them, they seem to have gotten better. It's also Drew Holiday. You saw his defensive prowess and how much that helped him. Because let's be honest, the world is getting better. Yes, I know that I expected them to win, but the world is getting better at the game of basketball.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And when you mentioned like Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, Devin Booker, rejoining the team after the finals, I don't know. I just feel like they kind of balance things out. I will say like the men's team, I say that they balanced out the team, but still that was like a super unbalanced team where you just had a bunch of like a bunch of individual talent that doesn't play together too much. Where you look
Yeah,
at some of these other teams like Australia, a lot of those guys they've been playing together for years.
years. Yeah,
You look at Luka Doncic in Slovenia. I mean that dude, basically grew up, playing pro Euro ball. So at the end of the day, the US's talent definitely, took care of business. and won them the gold. But you look at some of these other countries, and they're catching up. They're on the cusp of really, you know, giving USA basketball, I think the men's more so than the women's,
Yeah.
a run for their money. I think it's still, at the end of the day, the US is always going to come out as favorites when it comes down to the Olympics, but it's kind of refreshing to see, more and more countries, giving them, a little trouble. And granted, like, this wasn't like the best team the men's side could have put out in the Olympics, but nonetheless, they won.
I mean, once you have Kevin Durant on your team, you always have a chance. And I think he just went out there and proved that to me, he's the best player in the NBA right now. He's still the most unguardable player. You can you can disturb him, but he's still just such a lethal weapon on offense. And I think, like you said, when the Drew Holiday came to start playing with the Olympic team, it kind of changed. And and I also think you hit it out to just switch it a little bit. I think for the women's, the game is still growing globally for the women's basketball.
Yeah.
That's why you saw more domination on the women's, and also shout out to the women's 3-on-3 team. I believe this was the first year that the Olympics had 3-on-3 tournaments. uh did the men's win? That's a good question. Now I think about, was there even a men's 3-on-3? I'm
Holy
not sure,
crap,
but
I forgot. To be honest, I didn't follow the Olympics as much as I normally do this time around, just
likewise,
because,
I
like,
don't either.
I didn't know which channel, like what event was on which channel.
That was like, I think the most talking point is like, hey, I want to watch it, I don't know how.
Right. I don't know
I don't know
how.
how.
I was trying to watch basketball, and here I am on NBC, and for some reason it's on Peacock or whatever. Like, how was I supposed to know that? Like, wasn't very clear. Or it
Yeah,
would
it
show
was
it would show like volleyball, and for some reason, like, what is it? Not exotic swimming. What's the
synchronized
choreograph?
swimming.
Synchronized
Synchronized swimming.
swimming. That would be on, and I'm like, this isn't what I came to watch. Even though synchronized swimming is a very interesting event to watch.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I was lost. It was hard to kind of follow what the hell I was trying to. I couldn't find what was on what channel.
And then something I loved was when they would show some of the replays of the games or the events, and the announcers and the TV crew, they were acting like if this was new to them, and they were like, "We know who won. Like, you don't have to play. Like, we."
Right.
Oh
We're
man, but
smart
yeah,
to respect us. We're not dumb. We
right,
know what
exactly.
happened.
But we know what happened. But yeah, speaking about the 3-on-3 tournament, it makes me think maybe I still have a chance to make the Olympics. Maybe not on 3-on-3 basketball, but one sport that I saw, that I looked and I was like, I could do that, was speed walking. I swear I could. I swear I could be a speed walker, Alex. I can do it. I can do it. And I look at them and I'm like, that could be me. I could win gold, silver, or bronze. Just give me a chance, coach. Put me in. Now here's my question. Like, how do you even get into Olympic speed walking? Like, is there a sign up list? Is there like, do you have to call some, like how do
Oh
you even,
god.
just, I'm just putting it out there. I could totally be a speed walker.
This man, of all the cherished events that have been televised, shown throughout the Olympics for many years, looked at speed walking and said, "That's it.
That's it. That's
That's
my
it.
sport.
That's me. That's I." Oh man. I mean, you know what? Fair question though. Like, how do you get into speed walking, especially at the Olympic level? Like, what do you got to do to
Yes,
train to like get to that? To be able to compete in the Olympics. Like that. I look at that. I
it's a.
look at like bobsledding. Like, how do you get into that?
I mean, it's a little bit more understandable, because I think there's like bobsledding events and things of that nature. But
But like, where do
I don't.
you go? Where do you go for that? Where do you go for speed walking events? Like, do you walk down
That's
the block?
that's
Eh,
my question. Is like, because there's no speed walking events anywhere. There's not like obviously we have annual marathons, half marathons, quarter marathon, but there's no like, hey, guys, we're having a speed walk. Like, how do you get involved in that? Like
Right. Even when you
so.
like the very few times that I've seen people like speed walk just in public, I'm like, I just like not that you're trying to be mean, but you gotta look at them and it's kind of like, why are you speed walking? Like, of all the like, why can't you just do like a normal jog or something
Right.
like that? Like,
And I think you hit up on what I was about to bring up. That'd be my biggest scary thing, is that if I start speed walking, I'm just gonna start running, because I
right.
just run, like, it's just in my mentality to just start running. Like, it's gonna be so hard to just, okay, speed walk, like,
To have that discipline to not speed up is, but to
yeah,
still go fast. You
just
have
still
to
go
be
fast,
fast,
right?
but you
Yeah,
still can't
yeah.
go that fast either. Yeah. I respect him, man.
Yeah.
Be walking. It's fun to watch though. It's
Yeah,
hella
it's
fun to
definitely fun
watch.
to watch. But yeah, 3-on-3 would actually would be cool because I like that they put that. Now I will say it's a different and I don't know if I know that you're a baller. I don't know if you played in the official 3-on-3 tournament, but I played in it a couple times and it's definitely different than street ball. You don't take it out the ball when the ball is shot. Once it hits the rim, anybody can get it, but if it's the opposing team, they have to get it and take it back to a 3-point line, and then
Right,
you
you gotta
have
clear it.
like a shot. Yeah, got to clear it.
Oh, there's a
Uh,
shot clock. Oh,
there's a
right.
shot clock. Yeah, yeah.
So
So even with the made basket as well, once the made basket is, the opposing team grabs it and starts play right there and then, but they have to still take it back. So it takes a little getting used to. So it's different. It's FIBA rules, I guess. It's what it is.
yeah, that's interesting how because I guess the way I kind of grew up, just sort of pick up 3-on-3 was well, depending on the rules. Like if you made the basket, you could go traditional where the other team gets the ball back, or if you
Right.
make the
Yeah.
basket, it's keeps.
Yeah.
But then if you
Yeah.
miss, of
Make or
course,
take it.
then
Yeah.
right. But then if you miss and the other team rebounds, then you have to go to the 3-point line to clear it,
Yeah.
and that was
Back. Yeah.
right.
Take it back. Right. Right.
That was pretty much like the basic rules. But yeah, as far as like FIBA official rules, then you got the shot clock involved. It's a little more official, professional per se, whatever you want to call
Yeah.
it. So yeah, I could definitely see how there can be an adjustment to that.
Yeah. Now, one player that I would love to see in the 3-on-3 tournament for men's and next Olympics. He would have been great for this season, but I think because there's like an elimination process. You have to submit your team, and then you have to win so many games, and it's a whole process. But Isaiah Thomas. The reason I bring up Isaiah Thomas is the man went for 81 points in a pro am game. 81 points, and that's that's a lot of points. Let's just put it out there. That's a lot of points. No matter where you're playing, that's a lot of points in a pro am game. And there was this video. I'm not sure if you got a chance to see it, where after the game, he's just sitting down with he's leaning on a wall, and he just got really emotional. And people were like, people kind of took it the wrong way at first because they're like, oh, he's crying because he's not playing the NBA, but he's like, man, guys, I'm happy. I'm happy in my life right now. I'm just emotional because it's 81 points. It's a big accomplishment. And rumors started circulating. They asked him this question if there's a chance that he could get back to the NBA, and I think they were kind of saying that he's had talks with Boston, the Boston Celtics,
I was hearing the
and
Lakers.
oh, I actually wouldn't mind the Lakers, but I think
I
Boston. I
was hearing
think
the
he needs to go
Lakers.
back. He needs to. There's unfinished business with Boston because we know Boston did him dirty. We know that Danny Ainge did
Oh
him
yeah.
so dirty. But actually wouldn't be bad to see him back in the NBA. The man can definitely score. We saw him last year. He played with the Pelicans. He definitely helped them out in spurts. But yeah. So what's the most points you played in a pickup game? What do you guys go to over there in Chicago? Here we go to 15. What do you guys go up to over there?
It depends. I think 11 was kind of the standard. Pick
Okay.
up to 11. I think yeah, kind of like 15 or 21 would kind of be
Okay.
like the most I would roll with. But yeah, I think 11 was pretty much the standard
Yeah.
here, at
Well, what's
least.
the most? What's the well? Yeah. Here we do 15. Well, what's the most points you ever score in a pickup game where you're like, yeah, I just dominated that game. Like an Isaiah
Oh
Thomas,
man,
81 points.
like I don't know how many points it was, but it was a lot where I just lost track. It was a pickup game. I remember in gym class. I think it was like sophomore year. It was freshmen versus sophomores. So it was like me and some buddies, some sophomores, and then of course we were playing some freshmen. But granted, they were actually pretty good.
Mhm.
Like these kids are only a year younger than us, but but the freshmen they could play. Like they were actually pretty solid. And I don't know if I'm misremembering, but I thought we were getting blown out in the game. But my friend who was playing with me said we were actually winning. But I remember
Wow.
I went off like scoring like 6, 7 in a row, where like I just went full on like Kobe, where I just didn't pass the ball. Like I just got hot out of nowhere, and just like it didn't matter where I was shot. I shot like fadeaway baseline, like all net, top of the key 3-pointer, like
Okay.
swish and the foul, like falling down, like floater. Like I don't know, for some reason I went off, and it could have been easy, like maybe 15, 16 points, something like that.
Oh,
A
okay.
15,
Okay.
16 point spurt. I don't know. Like it's one of those where you're just in the zone, you don't even know what's going on. But
Yeah.
that was one of my finer moments.
Yeah, for me, it was we were playing a tournament here. It was the Houston Rockets. They always sponsor a 3-on-3 tournament, and we were playing this team. We were in the championship game, and now this team that we played, they were in our group, and to start the tournament. And in that group stage, we had gone down to them 11-3, and I was like, man, I don't want to lose. And in that game, my friend, one of my good friends, who actually need to get on this podcast, he went off. Like he started hitting twos, because it was 1-2. So he started getting
Right.
twos and he brought us back. And we ended up winning the game, I think 15-14, right? We met that same team in the final. We went down again to this team 11-2, and I was heated. Heated. I called timeout and I went to my players. I was like, I started like being very aggressive. I started touching them. I was like, man, you guys are playing like a bunch of, like just started going
Mm.
off at him. I was like, you know what, man, give me the fucking ball. Like I was saying it, I was like, give me the fucking ball. So and that's it. Like I didn't even say, okay, go. I was like, just give me the ball. So they just gave me the ball, and I went to work on the post. I started drill. I was like
Nice.
crisscross on the post. I was like, we're not gonna lose this game. Like that was our
Right.
first, I think our third time playing in that tournament, but our first time in the championship game. And I was like, we're not gonna lose this game. Because there's
Not
different
because of
brackets.
me. Not
Not
because
not
of
because of
me.
me. I'm gonna do everything, and I brought us back. I think I hit like 11-2, and I brought it back to 11 up. And then by then I was
Mm.
tired because I was doing a lot. So but then I started passing the ball again, because then
Right.
they had to double team me. Because there
Right.
were even sometimes where they were double teaming, and I was like, I'm still not gonna pass the ball. You guys are gonna foul me.
Yeah. So that's what ended up happening to me the next time we played them. So after I went off and did my thing, like the next time we played the freshman again, dude, I was getting double teamed, like draped on me. Like I couldn't even shoot the ball just cause like they were basically like had to foul me.
Yeah.
Cause man, after that they were like, "Oh yeah, you're not shooting today," and I was just like, "Damn." I looked at my team. I was like, "Hey, y'all gotta help me out because I can only do so much." I was like,
Right,
they're
right.
actually." I'm like, "They're actually locking me down, and like, they know what I can do now." So yeah,
Yeah, it's
that
a, it's
was
a
pretty
it's
funny.
a it's a good feeling when you're scoring all in points, and then you're like, I
Right?
feel like I can just throw anything. So yeah, so that was one of my finer moments. But
Yeah,
all that to say, I do hope AT finds his way back into the league. I think he definitely brought joy to a lot of basketball fans, and those 81
yeah,
points just prove that the man can still score.
in
He still has
Kobe's
it.
too,
And
in some
Kobe,
Kobe
oh, that's
fours.
another one. Yeah,
Yeah, man.
for
Just
sure.
yeah, just seeing just real quick, but just like the emotions that came out of him, like
Yeah,
the league quit on me. I was always still kind of high on Isaiah Thomas,
yeah.
even after like the hip surgery and all that. I was like, man, dude, like just a team needs to give him a solid chance, like just a decent amount of playing time to just show that he can contribute. Maybe not to the level that he was at Boston, that MVP type caliber level, but I thought he could still be, you know, a very viable guy for any team in
I
the
mean, to
league, and
me,
it just kept.
he's a definition of a spark off the bench. He's like, hey, I need you to give me some points now. He's like, I got you,
Yeah,
coach.
some
Like that.
yeah,
That's
quick
exactly what
buckets.
I see. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
So yeah,
perfect.
I hope he finds a spot somewhere in the league. I think he can still ball out, man. Well, shit, hell yeah, he can. He just dropped 81. So
He just dropped
what am I
31.
talking about? He can still hoop in the NBA. That's what I'm trying to say.
Definitely. Well, faithful listeners, that was our first episode back after a 1 week break. This is episode 31, but our first video podcast. Well, we're still gonna have audio podcasts, of course. That's always gonna be our bread and butter, as the people like to say. But thank you so much for listening to us. Please come back next week. Don't forget to subscribe. See ya.
Deuces.